Hello, everybody. So fun. Great to see your faces. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to Sammy and Spencer's call. You might be going, where are they tonight? Why is Bree here? Totally. It's great to be with you guys. We have a special treat for you tonight. Laura Duncan is going to be sharing and coaching you guys. If you have not seen the recording of the call she did on grief back in 2019 for the Come Alive group, you definitely want to check that out. Laura has definitely impacted my life in terms of actually defining what compassion is and just how to give that to myself. So you guys, like I said, you're in for a treat. I'm going to go over just a couple things before we dive in. And the first thing is who's here for the first time? Who's like, this is your very first coaching call ever? Just let us know. Anybody? Let me turn it on gallery view. Is this anybody's first call? Show me again. Clarissa, hello. So fun, welcome. Christy, you've never been coached, but it's your second call. So fun. Great. Jenny, awesome. Welcome, everybody. It's great to have you. Yeah, we're so glad you're here. If it is your first time, just a heads up that all the questions have been submitted beforehand. So we're not actually taking questions in the chat in this call. They've already been submitted in the weekly Wednesday post. So Laura's already got the questions. We'll get to a few of the questions on this call, but just like every other coaching experience you have here, we really want to encourage you to lean in. You get to have healing here too. You get to have insight and wisdom and revelation also. It's for you as well. So lean into that. If you do get coached, just want to remind you that it is a two-way conversation between you and Laura. So just like for Sam and Spence's call, when they say, just give us the meat and potatoes and trust that they'll ask you questions to draw out if they need more information. Laura's gonna do that for you too. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and receive tonight. We are gonna do the breakout rooms afterwards. If you were with me 2 weeks ago, my internet totally went out like 10 minutes into those breakout rooms. So hopefully it's gonna work out this time to keep those breakout rooms for the full hour. But without further ado, I'm gonna hand it over to Laura. And Laura, we're so honored to have you here. Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Bree. Thanks for the introduction. And I'm so happy to be with all of you ladies tonight. I know you guys are probably all in different time frames and different places, and it's so fun to just all be together on this call. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. If you did listen to the grief one that I shared, and then you'll have a little bit of background. But for those that aren't familiar with me, I've been a life consultant for 8 years. I started this process from actually being birthed through grief. My husband passed away 12 years ago. And through that process of dealing with his grief, I was able to walk through my own process, which that's what I'm now giving to other people. So 12 years ago, my husband died. I have 4 kids that I've been raising on my own. They're now 4 teenagers. So all the things that I get to give you, I get to practice firsthand with 4 teenagers. So I may not be married at the moment, but I'm definitely getting my practice with children and with teenagers. I work full-time doing this, and I'm really thankful, and I really enjoy working with people. I work with people from all over the world, all different types of people. And grief isn't actually my focus, even though my process was birth through grief. My process is what I call, I've trademarked it, the compassion method. And so it centers around compassion and being able to deal with our triggers, which I know you guys learn about in this class as well, but dealing with triggers, being able to figure out what our emotional needs are and how to get those met, being able to learn what compassion is and what self-compassion is and how to walk through that. So I have kind of a unique process that I walk through that initially was birthed through grief. So I'm very well-versed in helping people walk through grief, but it also ultimately goes into every aspect of our lives, not just grief. And that's one of the things that I learned along the way, is that yes, you can have a big event like a death happen, but all of us have experienced loss, down to even our early childhood development, really what we're grieving and working through, even in this class, is the whole process of grieving our losses, even from early childhood development. And that may not be a death. That might just be the loss of not getting what we needed. You know, that's a loss in itself. When our parents, our caregivers weren't able to give us what we needed, we have to grieve that loss as well. So even if you haven't experienced a death, all of us have experienced grief. All of us have experienced loss. And that's a big center point of being able to help people connect with their hearts and walk through that, to, like this is called, to be alive and not to be suppressed or repressed from pain. Repression is when you are not conscious of suppressing your pain. Suppression is where you're consciously suppressing your pain. And so most of us, the reason why we have these triggers and these symptoms coming up is because we've been repressing or suppressing a lot of our pain for a long time. So ultimately, helping all of us walk through this pain to be reconnected with our true self, reconnected with who we are before we experience loss, or what we were intended to be without loss, is really the goal, and me helping other people. And so I'm really happy that Sammy and Spencer invited me to come be on this call, and I'm excited to answer these questions. So that's a little bit about me. As we're answering questions, I might elaborate on different things, different teachings, or different personal experiences. But for now, I think I will just go ahead and jump into questions and answers, and then it'll kind of evolve as we're going. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the first question. I have a list that they collected before. So Megan Goodrow, I don't know, you had a question looking for help processing through grief.
I'm here.
You're here? Okay. Hi, Megan.
Hi. I had a feeling I might get picked.
You look very happy about that.
I'm so happy. It was funny. I had wrote my question about grief, and then they said like that you were going to be on it, and I just knew a little bit about you, and I was like, I'm getting picked. I'm like, this is what she teaches on.
Yep, exactly. I do. I definitely do. Go ahead and share a little bit, like Brie was saying, kind of the meat and potatoes of why you asked that question. And then I'll kind of help you coach you through it and help you walk through it.
Awesome. Well, first, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, meat and potatoes. So the grief that I was referring to 10 years ago. 10 years ago. Okay, grew up with a single mom in a super close-knit church. Actually, was kind of cult. It was cult-like. I say that after years of counseling, just to give you some background.
Yeah.
Have done tons of inner healing, tons of counseling, but there would just be like this pain point that would come up over the years, and I couldn't really describe it, and it almost felt unbearable, and I just couldn't really get it. And so over the last couple of years, I was like, I think I'm dealing with grief. So 10 years ago, there was this really traumatic situation that happened at the church that I grew up in. And then my mom got married and moved away. And then now it's at the point where my mom is still involved in that that organization and has cut off relationship with me. And our relationship was rocky, but then she put an end to it, pretty much saying, you need to do this or I won't have her. There's so many details to it, but I'm trying to give you the meat and potatoes.
You're doing great.
Okay, kind of where I am now is dealing with the grief of that. Like just a couple weeks ago, I was like, God, I don't know how to grieve, but I know this is what I need to do. Would you just teach me? And he started to show me a couple things that I was still holding on to, that time period in my life. Because in a lot of ways, I felt like my brain was still stuck at 17 and 18 when all of these things happened. And so the grief of that, the grief of like wanting a mom, and then and I have lots of other women who have come into my life who have been like mama bears and spiritual moms and that kind of thing. And so I'm like, okay, that's cut off, but it might come back at some point. But then how do I process, I want someone else to just fill that spot, but then is that grief? Is that just an unhealed emotion? So I'm sorry, I probably didn't share every detail that you needed,
Yeah.
but that's kind of what.
That's great. I can always ask more questions
Cool.
too if I need to. So
Cool.
for everyone, when I ask questions, feel free to share the basics. Like you did a great job sharing it. And then I can always ask some more questions if I
Okay.
need some clarification. But I definitely understand what you're saying. And I ultimately, a lot of what I do, I don't need to know actually all the details to help you process through your grief, because you're the most important thing. You know, trying to fix or validate your external world isn't going to take care of your internal world. And so I don't really need a ton. I need details about how you feel about things, and that's what we're going to dive into.
Okay.
But I don't need so many details about what happened, because it's not it's not really about those things. Those are the
Okay.
things that brought up the pain inside of you.
Yes.
So you said a key thing. You said that at 17 and 18, these events happened, and that these events, you know, you feel like you're still stuck there. And it's because you are still stuck there.
Yes.
And so one of the things about having amazing women come into our lives, or men or women, but women in this case come into our lives and be for us what our parents couldn't be,
Yeah.
it's really amazing. But if we don't apply it to our early childhood development, which goes even younger than 17 and 18, 0 to 12 years old,
Mhm.
I bet there was things that were happening during that time, and it came to kind of like came to a head at 17 and 18, but you're probably experiencing things for years before you actually had that event happening. So is that true?
Yeah, it was. I'm not quite sure what you mean. Like I wasn't I wasn't dealing with depression or anything. There were definitely internal struggles like that were going on. Like I wouldn't call it an eating disorder, but like I had that, lost a ton of weight, but it was like all inside, nothing that really blew up. I guess that is what you're saying, like
Yeah,
lost.
exactly. And so
Okay.
like we always have like this big moment that happens, whether it
Yeah.
be
Okay. Yeah.
whatever that event is, whether it's
Okay.
actual physical death or a big event that happened like it did in your life, where that is a moment of
Yeah.
pain, a moment of
Yeah.
trauma. And so we have this big event and we're like, okay, that is the thing. That's the thing that's kept me trapped. That's the thing that's kept me from being able to move forward.
Yeah.
And it is, that event in itself is definitely is affecting you in a negative way.
Yeah.
But the degree that that event affected you is truly a reflection of what was going on inside of you in your early childhood development.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yes. I'm tracking with
Yeah.
you.
Yep. And so if you've experienced loss or experienced even just the loss of your needs not being met in those early childhood development needs, it sets you up to have a lot bigger reaction to those events that happen later on, whether it be teenage years, whether it be in our 20s, whenever
Yeah.
this is happening, it's actually being magnified.
Yes.
And what I call that is compounded grief. So
Oh,
we have grief happen. I'm just making up numbers, but let's just say that when you're 5, something painful happened. It doesn't have to even be like the end of the world. It can just be something painful that happened when you were 5,
yeah.
something happened when you were 10, something happened when you were 13. And then you have this big event happen at 17. And now it's compounded from multiple times we experienced pain that we didn't properly comfort and care for. And so now we're experiencing this event and a much stronger magnitude because of the compounded grief. But if we had been taken care of in those other times when we had this big event happening, it would not have impacted us to the same degree.
Yeah.
And hear me when I say that I still recognize that that event was traumatic. It's not like I'm minimizing it. It's not like I'm saying that it's, not a big event. It is. That was
I
a
totally
painful
understand.
time.
Yeah.
But your interpretation and your lens of
Yeah.
the event is going to be completely different based on the grief or the pain or the loss that you experienced that never got proper comfort.
Yeah.
So in my life, for example, when my husband died, I had a really valid reason to feel extreme grief, and I did feel grief, but I also had compounded grief. I had my mom not be able to take care of me because of a pregnancy that kept her on bed rest when I was 3. And my dad left when I was 12. And then I had boyfriends that I felt like had abandoned me as well. And then now my husband dies because I didn't know this stuff at the time. Now I have this compounded grief that takes my husband's death and takes it to the next level. But because it's a justifiable event, just like yours is probably a justifiable event, we take all that collective grief and we funnel it into that one moment. And
Yeah.
now this moment is going to be this milestone of grief in our life that's going to decide how we're going to be stuck ultimately sometimes for the rest of our lives in that grief pattern. So we can't, and neither would I want to.
Can I ask you a question real
Yep,
quick?
go ahead. Yep.
You mean stuck if you don't work through it?
Exactly. If you
Okay,
don't,
I was
of
like,
course.
wait a second. I do not want to be
No, I'm talking about if compounded grief
Okay.
is not taken care of, then you'll be stuck in compounded grief and in
Gotcha.
that event. But if you take
Okay.
care of not just the grief that happened in that event, but if you go back and you take care of the other events that happened, then
Yeah.
you're actually going to be able to be healed and walk through it. And that's how a lot of people get stuck, because they'll take all their like coaching, counseling, energy, time, resources, and throw it all on that event. And
Yeah.
they've done hours and hours and hours. And they're like, okay, why isn't this taken care of?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because it's not just about that time. And that's
Yeah.
why we stay stuck and we think this is never going to get healed, because we haven't taken care of the things that led up to that moment that caused it to actually be bigger than it really was. So when you're going through that grief, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to be able to recognize your compounded grief. So being able to go back and find the times that you grieved and be able to have like almost like a timeline of grief. So let's just say you've spent some time and you've gone through and you highlighted the moments that you felt like you experienced grief previously before that event. Then you're right, we do need healthy moms to be able to come in and be with us in those moments. But the tricky thing that happens is our adult self is experiencing these amazing moms. Your child self did not have these amazing moms in her life at that time. So what we're doing is we're taking back those experiences that we had with these healthy mentors, spiritual moms, and we're bringing it back to each compounded grief event and infusing it, because we can't change our story. Whatever happened in your life is your story. So we can't change the story, but we can infuse your story with characteristics from a mom and a dad that you needed, that your mom and dad weren't able to give you.
That
And
makes
when
sense.
early childhood development self, which I like to call our coding, your adult self is like a website. You can't change a website. That's what we keep trying to do. We keep trying to get healthy by trying to heal our adult self. It's not going to work. Anything you do to try to heal your adult self, you have to maintain manually. Anything you do for your coding, which is your early childhood development, creates an automatic response as an adult. So we go back to those coding, those compounded grief moments, and we infuse them with, and we'd still go back to the 17 or 18-year-old event as well, but we're going to do a collective grief timeline. And those moms and those mentors come back and they're with you in it the way that it was meant to be, the way God intended for a mommy to be with you, that your mom and dad weren't able to be with you in. Then your heart gets what you needed. Then we fast forward to right now with your mom not talking to you, and it doesn't feel the same. You're not going to grieve it the same way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so when we have that, so that doesn't mean that we still don't grieve, but it becomes like a lower G grief now. We're still sad, we still hurt, but it doesn't feel like it's going to kill us. It doesn't feel like it's going to destroy us. It doesn't feel like we are hopeless. It doesn't feel like we're powerless.
Yeah.
We feel connected to our true self. We feel alive and free. And we're still lowercase g grieving what we would like to have from our parents that they're not able to give.
So, okay, that all makes sense. My mind's like, practically, what do I do?
Make your timeline.
Okay, make the timeline. I think the practical part in my mind is like you're talking about, I forget the word you used, infuse.
Infuse, yeah.
Yeah. So like that, do you just sit down with someone who is like a mom and be like, hey, this happened. Can you comfort me right now?
Yeah. So then that would be applying it to your adult self, which is not going to be the effectiveness that we would want for ultimately your child heart.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a triggered state, you're in your child brain. And your child brain needs a mommy. So what you're going to do, you're going to vividly imagine real moments with real moms that are standing in on behalf of your mom.
Mhm.
And you're going to apply the feeling that you have with them to your 5-year-old, to your 10-year-old.
Got it. Okay.
And when that real person, that real experience is applied to your 5-year-old self, she gets to experience what you experience right now with that person in your life. And your brain doesn't know the difference. Your brain says, I got it. Because it's not just me saying, imagine a random woman coming in and being with you. We're talking about your real spiritual mom and your real mentor and your real people in your life that you've tangibly experienced being nurtured and comforted and cared for in your pain. And we're just reapplying it to those compounded grief moments.
Okay.
So that's very practical.
Yeah.
Linear grief line, highlight the compounded griefs all the way up to the 17 or 18-year-old spot. Bring in those moms to come and be with you in each of those moments until your heart feels full. And then when you come back to being present day, your adult self, your brain will feel more loved, more nurtured, more cared for. And then your lens and how you're going to see your mom and loss of your mom for this moment will change. And again, like I said, it's not going to go away completely.
Yeah.
You will have lower G grief, but there's a big difference. Let me tell you, there's a big difference between capital G grief and lowercase g grief. They're
Yeah.
worlds apart. We can take care of lower G grief.
Yeah.
Uppercase G grief feels like it's the end of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It really does.
It's that strong because we're in that triggered compounded grief brain mindset.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story. And as you practice that in a practical way, you'll be able to neurologically feel a big difference in how you're viewing your circumstance now.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So our next question is Danielle Lalane. Am I saying it right? I'm sorry. I might butcher some of your names.
That's right.
Okay, good. Perfect. There, I see you. So your question was help coming out of hiding is noticing a lot of shame and feelings of rejection from mistakes she's made in the past. So that's a great question. When we make mistakes and we feel shame, we hide. That's going back to the Garden of Eden. You are frozen a little bit. I can hear you, but you are frozen, but it'll be fine.
Yeah, because I'm actually in my car, so that's probably why.
Okay,
so,
no problem. I just wanted to, I didn't want you thinking I could see you and I couldn't. Okay, perfect. Then I'll just hear you and I'm completely fine with that. So
yeah,
it all makes sense. Of course you're in hiding. Because if you go back to the Garden of Eden, what happened? They ate of the knowledge of good and evil, which introduced them to shame. When they were introduced to shame, they believed that they were evil, dark, and that they had to cover themselves and hide. And so in that place, we want to be able to come back and heal shame, because shame says what you do is who you are. And if what you do is who you are, then you have to hide yourself. You're not hiding what you do. You're not hiding your behavior. You're hiding yourself. And so we want to be able to come and help heal shame. One of the tricky things about shame is we think the way out of shame is to do better. So I feel shame. I feel like what I did is who I am. And so, yes, shame can be healed. That's actually a big center of what I do as well, is healing shame. So, and that's what Jesus died for. Jesus died to heal shame. He died to restore us back to the garden and better, but he died to heal us from the knowledge of good and evil. So what happens with shame is we think, okay, I feel like something is wrong with me. I am bad. I am evil. I am dark. Even part of why we try to get emotionally healthy is actually shame motivated. I feel like there's something wrong with me. So now I want to be part of this class to fix what's wrong with me so I can get better, so I can get fixed, so I can be good. And then I'll be free of shame because I feel bad. I want to compensate with good. But this is the tricky thing about shame. You can't get out of shame by doing, because the nature of shame is doing. So the better you do, the more good you do, you are actually putting fuel on the fire of shame. You're actually increasing your shame as you try to do better. So you can see how we're in a shame cycle, because we try to do better, better, better. And then guess what's going to happen? What goes up must come down. So to the degree that I do good is the degree that I'm going to eventually do bad. Then I'm going to feel shame again, go into hiding, and then try to get better. And what ends up happening is we stay in a shame cycle. We have to heal shame, not do better.
Yeah.
And so if you want to come out of hiding, the antidote for shame is compassion. And what do we not give ourselves when we believe that we're wrong, when we believe that we're bad? We do not give ourselves compassion. We become critical in that. So go ahead and share just a little bit about how shame comes up in your life. But I just wanted to share that first, just to give kind of like an overview of how I'm going to walk you through it. Because normally people are just trying to get out of shame. We actually want to heal it. So tell me a little bit about your shame, or how shame shows up in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is brand new to me. And so I'm just gonna,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you very well.
go to. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear just that last sentence. I couldn't hear you before that. I know technology is hard sometimes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
So, perfect.
But now I can't. Oh, I really want to hear what you have to say, but I can't hear you. Oh, we lost you too. What should we do, Bree? Oh, wait, you're back.
Okay. Oh my goodness. So, so when I was in my 20s, I was like guy relationships for me have been really, really hard. And really ended up giving myself away in my early 20s. And that's when the shame began, was then.
From relationships,
just
or
continued.
say that one more time. What specifically started the shame? I heard what you said, but what are the two things?
When I was together with a guy down in California, and we talked about being married and together, and then of course I ended up giving myself to him, and then another time we got together and I decided, I'm not doing this again. And then he said, well, then get dressed and leave. And so I left, and then he ended up breaking up with me because I wasn't giving him what he wanted.
Yeah. Sorry, I know it was a sensitive subject. I was just trying to hear what you were saying. So I want to be clear, because I didn't want to start talking and not hear it. So thank you so much for sharing that. I didn't mean to make you keep going on about it. And so technology, I tell you. So yes, any area that we have sexual issues come up in our lives is definitely going to be one of the main shame areas, because sexual issues are usually hidden, secret, they're not talked about. So we deal with them within ourselves. And so that's what makes shame. Whenever we deal with something within ourselves without being able to share it with someone else, oh, there you are. Hi.
Yes.
that increases our shame even more, because we're hiding in the bushes, separate from God, separate from people, hidden, covered up, trying to cover ourselves up, but not truly being healed or taken care of. So when that event happens, you're going to feel it so much bigger, because you probably didn't have a lot of people that you were able to talk to about it.
Right.
that true? Did it feel like it
Mhm.
was more shameful because of that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had like close set people like my mentors and stuff, but other than that, it's just like I've dealt with it for so long.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And still with you because you still, so
Mhm.
this is the reason why shame stays because we believe it's true. The first thing God said to Adam and Eve when he met them after they had eaten of the knowledge of good and evil, the first thing he says, I have kids. If my kids just did what Adam and Eve did, and now the world's going to be in, until Jesus comes, is going to be in that place, I would be like, what were you thinking? I can't believe you did that. This is
Mhm.
terrible. So think about your sin being the thing that, causes the ripple effect of mankind. That's how it feels when we go through our own process. That's exactly how it feels.
Mhm.
So here you are, you're hiding in the bushes. You gave yourself to that man. He broke up with you. You're in pain. You're in shame. And now you're thinking, I'm just going to have to cover this up myself. I'm going to have to, maybe even today, I'm going to have to get better. I'm going to have to get
Mhm.
fixed. So here comes God. God's coming to you and he's saying, who told you that you were evil, that you were bad? Because Jesus says that even when we were still making mistakes, he died for us because he could see who we were separate from what we did. And
Mhm.
so that's why he was moved with compassion for us because he knew who you were. But you've believed to some degree that what you did is who you are. So that there's darkness inside of you, but there's no darkness inside of you. And so when we can connect with who you really are, we can bring compassion, we can bring nurture, we can bring comfort to the pain that you experience in that moment. We can come and sit with you in it and be with you in your nakedness, in your vulnerability. We can come and be with you. And once you feel that compassion, once you feel someone, God, others being moved with compassion for the pain that you experience in that moment, it's going to heal your shame because you know who you are now because compassion came and was with you.
Mhm.
And when compassion comes with you, you'll now know that what you did and who you are completely different.
Mhm.
And that's what we want to come back to, who we are.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And I want to share something with you that nothing that you've done, nothing
Mhm.
that's been done to you can ever change who you are, ever. You are
Thank
who
you.
God created you to be from the foundations of the earth, from your mother's womb.
Mhm.
When someone comes and sits across from me when I do my consulting, the first thing God says is they don't need to be fixed.
Mhm.
They're not broken. They're just
Mhm.
covered up with pain. So my only job, he says, do not try to fix my creation. Danielle's
Mhm.
perfect. She just got covered up. And my only job when I work with someone is to help uncover God's perfect creation. Because Colossians 1:20 says, by the blood of Jesus, everything has been restored back to Jesus, back to factory setting, back to his original design. You
Mhm.
are fully restored to perfection. You just don't know it because you think what you did was who you are.
Mhm.
But now you're going to come back to who you are and you're going to be able to see like blindingly the difference between what
Mhm.
you did and who you are and who you've always been.
Mhm. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So compassion, coming and being with yourself in your mistakes, being with yourself in your sin, and recognizing the difference that what you did in that moment matters, but you matter
Mhm.
so much more.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shame is definitely a really crippling experience for all of us. And that's the way out, is reconnecting with who you are separate from what you did.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Danielle. Our next question is from Deborah Lynn. Feeling stuck, falling asleep even while dealing with triggers, or dealing with the parts of the course that teaches on triggers, wondering how to keep moving through the coursework. Great question. Hi, Deborah.
Hi.
Deborah Gregg is Deborah Lynn. Yeah, just making sure. Great question. So you're physically falling asleep?
Yes, 3 times.
That makes perfect sense. Of course you're falling asleep when you're doing the homework. So
Well, it's actually during the teaching. I get like halfway through and
yeah.
it's like, oh, I guess the same point, and it's not because I'm exhausted.
No, you're not. No,
Yeah.
you're not tired. Yeah. So so to start out with tired is one of the most kind of like incognito triggers, because we all feel, I mean, okay, we all come back to, okay, I didn't sleep last night. I must be tired. I didn't, I've been working really hard. I've been so busy. I must be tired. But tired is a trigger. I'm not saying that if we don't get sleep, we're not going to physically feel tired. But the tired that Deborah's talking about, and the tired that majority of people deal with, is not physical tired. It's emotional tired. That's a trigger. That's a knee-jerk reaction from pain, from a wound. That wound gets pressed on throughout our day, and guess what happens? We get tired. Then we kind of rally back up again, get a cup of coffee. Okay, we're back again. The wound gets pressed on, and then we become tired. And we're living our whole lives tired, not because we're physically tired, because our bodies are extraordinary. I remember watching these outdoor films and seeing these people just like hike and do these things that you're just thinking, like, how is it possible that the human body can do these things? Our bodies are highly adaptable. Our bodies are strong. I'm not taking away if you have sickness that I know that taxes your body. I'm not taking away from if you have insomnia or sleep issues, that does tax your body. So hear me when I say that there are physical issues. And if we have a pie chart, that's definitely part of it. But I promise you that usually there's more emotional tired happening than physical tired. So if we're physically tired, what will happen is you'll just feel like the life come out of you, like life just be sucked out. You'll feel drained. So Deborah, while you're hearing people speak, it's pressing on your pain. It's pressing on potentially your helplessness or your hopelessness, because issues are coming up as people are talking, and you're all being triggered. While I'm talking tonight, you're all being triggered to some varying degree. When Sammy and Spencer are on here talking about things, you're all being triggered. So it's pressing on your wound, Deborah. And when it does that, you get tired. So we want to treat it the very same way we would treat if you all of a sudden started getting angry and yelling during a call. If you went into your fight and you just started yelling during a call, we'd want to treat it the exact same way as getting tired and falling asleep. So when you feel that tired coming on, I want you to pause that tired. You feel it, it's coming. Pause the tired and say to your heart, Deborah, what's going on? What pain just got pressed on? Are you feeling scared? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling lonely? Because I said in the beginning, we are usually unintentionally, because you're here on this call to get healthy. You're here on this call to absorb everything. You invested your time and energy to come be part of this. You want this. But something inside of you is getting pressed on that potentially is a repressed sadness that you don't even know you're repressing in the moment, because your cognitive brain is saying, hey, I'm on board, thumbs up for the class. But then your child brain, your primal, your amygdala is saying there's a wild animal chasing us right now, by what Spencer just said. There's a wild animal chasing me because of what Sammy just said. There's a wild animal chasing me because of what Laura just said. And that wild animal chasing you says, shh, go to sleep. And so we want to say, no, I want to feel my pain right now. I want to feel the scared feeling that's coming up right now. It'll be either sad, scared, or lonely. What one do you usually experience if you were able to kind of sift through in that moment?
I don't know. I feel like all of them right now.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, it's usually one or a combination of all three. So if you don't mind, feel those emotions right now. Do you feel more hopeless or helpless?
Helpless.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel more trapped or out of control?
Out of control.
Mm-hmm. It's happening to you, huh? Feels bigger than you. Do you feel more sad or scared or lonely? I know you're feeling all of them, but what one do you feel the strongest? Scared.
Mhm.
I thought you might be scared. Yeah. So you see, as you're feeling this helplessness, this out of control, this scared feeling, of course you're going to get tired. Of course you're going to want to go to sleep because it's too much to feel. But I want to come and be with you in it. Deborah, I see you're scared. I see you're helpless. I see you're out of control. I just want to sit for a moment and just be with you in it. I know what it feels like to feel scared too. And I want you to put your hand on your heart. We're going to speak compassion to your heart. There's a car show going on outside. I'm sorry. We're going to speak compassion to your heart. So I want you to say, heart, I see you trying so hard in this class.
Trying so hard.
I'm proud of you.
You.
I'm sorry it feels scary.
Sorry, it feels scary.
I'm going to stay right here with you.
Be right here with you.
Take all the time you need.
To me.
I'll stay with you until you feel safe. Yeah. 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 And then from that place, with patience and kindness, you're going to practice re-engaging with whatever was causing you to shut down. It might come back in a wave again. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to connect again. I'm scared again. Help. You're going to come and be with yourself in this scared. If you did just that process during a call and you couldn't hear anything else people were saying because you were in that place, that would be enough. That would be enough. Because very brave. How does your heart feel with that?
I'm still afraid.
That's okay. It's okay to be afraid.
Mhm.
We're so afraid of being afraid. I was really scared of sad. And I had to start embracing sad as precious. Scared is precious. And I would tell my heart, you can be as scared as you need to be for as long as you need to be. I'll be right with you and you're scared. How does that feel?
Scary.
It is scary. It's terrifying. But you're staying right there with you. That's why I say it's so brave.
It's like I see myself as when I was 2.
I know. You're just little right now. Yeah. Your brain is little when you're that scared. So do you have children? Do you have any children in your life, like nieces or nephews or
Yeah,
friends'
and
kids?
I'm a teacher too.
Oh, you're a teacher too. So you were really connected. I thought you were. I was like, she's really connected to children, but I didn't know what the type of connection was.
Early
So I want you, that's great. So I want you to think about a child that you're connected to. What would happen if they came to you and said, I'm scared? They were 2 and they came up to you and said, I'm scared. What would you feel for them? I want you to take that compassion you give to them, and that's what I want you to put on your heart. What would you tell them?
It'll be okay.
Yeah. You feel that? Yeah, there it is. That's the substance of compassion that you didn't know how to give yourself because you were too scared, but you know how to give those babies so you can give it to yourself. Be moved with them, and then turn that moved with compassion, turn that hose of compassion back towards yourself. I can tell you love those children so well, but you don't know how to love yourself the same way that you love them. And so we're going to practice. Think about that child. Think about your love for them. Think about how you'd want to be with them and they're scared. And then grab a hold of that feeling and put it back on your heart. I want you to put your hand out like you were going to give it to that child. And then I want you to take it and put it back on your heart. It's going to be okay. Yeah. You feel the difference? Yeah. Beautiful. And I see you kind of empty. Again, usually when we love other people really well, we don't know how to love ourselves. We neglect ourselves. So you're like a cup that's really scared because you're empty. So you're going to repeat this. Next time you get tired, you're going to repeat it. Picture that baby. Bring that compassion back to your 2-year-old self. Because when you're in a triggered state, you're in your child brain. So in that moment, you really are too. How's your heart?
A little better.
That's good. Remember what I said. We're not fixing your heart. We're not trying to, oh no, you're scared. We got to get rid of it. No, we want you to,
Still
a little bit.
anxious, but like
Yeah.
not as bad.
Yeah. That's exactly the place that's the place I want you to be in. Still feeling. We don't want to just get better. We want to feel that. It's okay to be a little anxious. It's okay to be a little scared. You're going to keep applying compassion. Keep applying compassion. And then guess what you're going to do? Just like your kids you teach, you're going to get up and you're going to go play. Feel your pain. Get comfort. Go play. You know what I mean? When you work with kids.
Yeah, I'm not sure I know how to do that, but I know
I
they
know,
do.
I know, but I promise you, you're just like them. You know, if a little child came running right now into your living room and fell down and got hurt, you'd pick them up, you'd hold them. Within minutes, seconds, they'd squirm down to go play. That's what you're going to do. But one of the things people miss out is they feel their pain. They recognize they're in pain in the moment, but they don't know how, or they don't give themselves comfort. So they can't let go. They can't go play. So practice that cycle. Feel your pain, get comfort, go play, repeat. Just like you would with babies. If you had a hard student that came in, that's what you would do with them. Right? Do for them do for yourself what you would do for them.
I was actually a parent educator with babies and walking through the emotions in toddlers. And I'm like, why can't I do this?
Oh, it makes perfect sense why you would not be able to do it for yourself, because when we're in our own pain, we're adverse to pain. That's why we help everyone else in their pain. But guess what? This is the hope. You know exactly how to do it. All you have to do is take that. That's why I described it. I was discerning you. That's why I described it like what did I say? Like a hose. Because I knew it wasn't that you didn't know how to do it. You have a hose. You have like, it's not even a hose. It's like a huge hose, and you have this, you turn that towards the children in your life that you love and the parents that you help. And you turn that there. You have a huge amount of compassion and love. The only thing that we want to change, we don't want to change anything. That hose is perfect. You know exactly how to do it. All we want to do is turn the hose towards you. That's it. So it's not hopeless because you already know how to do it perfectly. I want you to treat yourself. I want you to adopt your 2-year-old self for a week and treat her just like you would those other 2-year-olds in your life. And it will be a little rough at first, but you're going to get more and more familiar. Then it's just going to be like riding the bike you do every day with all the other kids. And you'll just be one of the many kids that you help. Very brave to share. I know you still feel it a little bit, and that's okay. We're going to keep loving you. When you have a child that comes to you that's struggling, the first time you connect with them or help the parent connect to them, you don't just go, all right, that's it, we're done. It's repetitious, it's consistent, and that's what you need to do with yourself. Do you get it? You can do it. You're already doing it. You're already a professional at it. Literally. It's not even just me being like, you're really good at it. Like you were literally a professional at it. All you do, turn it towards you. Good job. You did it.
I think
So
religion
brave.
has kept me from that part.
I know, because you're not supposed to be selfless. But the Bible says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. The Passion Translation translates that to demonstrate love to others, demonstrate love to those children as you care for and love your child. That's what that scripture means. And that is the most love you're going to do, because you put the oxygen mask on you first, then you put it on the babies. Then you can actually help them even more because you're full of life. And that's not selfish at all. And if God is our parent and you're scared and hurting, he's not going to say, you know what, forget about yourself, just go help other people. He's going to say, you're my baby first. They're my baby second. I'm going to take good care of you. And that's what inspires us to take good care of ourselves.
So would that be like why I feel a block with intimacy right now?
100%.
Okay.
Because you're repressing yourself or suppressing yourself, thinking that's what love looks like. So when we're suppressed, we can't connect in intimacy. But when we're connected, we can connect with intimacy. You're also very good at that too. It's just blocked. There's nothing wrong with you.
Thank you.
So our next question is Katie Wise Osborne. You want help processing through a trigger of feeling controlled, recognizing it's rooted in past pain from your parents, but want it to stop affecting your relationship with your husband and yourself. Is Katie on here?
I am.
Hi, Katie.
Did not think I was going to be picked. I am not thinking, yeah.
If you're triggered right now, that's okay too.
Okay.
No, really though. I mean, like I said, I wasn't exaggerating or just saying it for show. Everyone's getting triggered on this call. So we're just going to embrace that we're triggered. We didn't think we were going to be called. All
Okay.
eyes are on you now. But guess what? It's just me and you.
Right.
Just me and you. And we're going to be able to talk about why it feels like you're being controlled.
Yeah. So my biggest thing is like focusing on and like the meat and potatoes that you're talking about, because I've like so much. But like the root of it is going back to as a child and being controlled as a child and not being able to emotionally connect with my family in certain ways. You know, I mean, for one, I mean, my mom wouldn't even like tell me about sex. So like that was like a big like thing. If we can like talk about that, I can never like fully come to my mom about certain things. So then shame comes if I had feelings of things.
Yeah.
So you've talked a little bit about that, which then I'm not going to go into all of it, but you know, in college, I was taken advantage of, and so then I didn't feel like I was in control of my own self
Yeah.
because back, you know, and then I find this pretty amazing man that I'm married to now, and
Congratulations.
thanks. For almost 7 years. But we, um, like for me, it's hard to live like focused on, okay, my husband needs, like, we do need to be equal, but like him taking control in certain ways and me not feeling, um, not wanted, but like that like we're together, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
We dealt with infertility. And so then that went back to not feeling in control of myself and
Yeah.
also shame too, because I was raped and basically, and like feeling like I did something to then now cause me to be infertile. So it's
Yeah.
like different like control and loss and just
Mhm.
trying like to like, I don't know, just I don't know where to go with like the whole control piece, but like
Yeah.
letting go of, I don't know, that my husband's not trying to like control me, or even like being intimate with my husband is really hard because I go back and be triggered by
Yeah.
certain not being in control, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. So you brought up a lot of different ways that you're experiencing the same thing. So we're gonna center on it. And I really appreciate you sharing. You did a great job doing the meat and potatoes, of being able to share some of those events in your life that caused you to feel even more out of control.
mm,
So when we're controlled, we feel out of control, or we feel trapped. So it usually goes one way or the other. And then we don't feel safe, and so then we go into other situations throughout our lives, like you're talking about, and they tend to compound. And then also they tend to agree with the historical story of being controlled. And so we want to go back to your early childhood development and help your little self know what to do when you're being controlled. Because if she
mm,
knows what to do when she's being controlled, then you're going to know what to do when you feel controlled.
mm.
And so, what did, when you were a little girl and you said that your mom was very controlling, what did it feel like to you? What are three feelings you felt when she was control? And think of a specific moment. What were three feelings you felt?
Maybe like not feeling wanted. Um, my my feelings mattered. Um, uh, that's like specifically like all I can like think of like right now
That's
would be
great.
things didn't matter. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, uh,
Which means that you feel like you don't matter.
right.
So, not feeling valuable,
Hmm.
not feeling like you matter.
Um, I mean, other feelings, maybe shame. I mean, if I was control, well, maybe that wouldn't really be like that, but like, I mean, one particular thing that my mom told me one time, and it's always stuck with me. It was a guy that I used to be engaged to, and I'm not gonna go through, but I had some like health things go on, and I just remember her being so, well, like basically like if you do that, if you did this, then this could happen, or if it's not this, this could like happen.
Mhm.
And so, um, yeah, so yeah, just
Oh,
not
yeah.
like we're met, I guess.
Mhm.
I felt like I could not go to my mom for certain things, and I didn't want to because I felt shame or that what would she say,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you why how she responded in that moment and the things that you felt. What was even more devastating for your early childhood development was when your mom was busy saying those types of things to you. She wasn't busy holding you.
Right.
She wasn't busy teaching you. She wasn't busy seeing you, and hearing you, and being with you.
Mm.
And when we don't have that, it's even more devastating than being controlled. If
Right.
you had had those things, your mom was able to give you those characteristics, and you felt full of love, and then she tried to control you, you would not have been controlled in the same way. You would not have seen, you would not have agreed with it. You would not have been trapped in it.
Mm.
Because in your fullness, you can't be controlled. But because of the emptiness that you experienced, because when your mom was busy doing that, she wasn't busy being with you and teaching you and training you and loving you and caring for you. That's where we actually get stuck.
Yeah.
We
Well, being
think, yeah.
emotionally like neglected, if that makes sense.
And that's what I'm talking about when I use those. One of the teachings I have, I call it the 10 gifts, and it's centering around our emotional needs and the neglect that our moms and dads intentionally or unintentionally neglected our emotional needs.
Well, now it's hard for me now with my daughter.
Yeah,
And
of
trying
course.
emotionally tend to her needs and
Mhm.
I'm trying to fix me and like I'm like, oh, I don't want to screw her up. And then
I
I know
know.
not,
Yeah.
it's a real negative thing to think of, but I struggle with that daily based off of emotional neglect. So
Exactly. So that's where we want to actually put our focus. We want to put our focus not on how can we not be controlled by your mom and have the ramifications you've experienced the rest of your life. We
right.
actually want to put our focus on the emotional neglect. So your heart isn't getting fixed, it's getting full.
Right.
We don't want fixed hearts because we could fix your heart perfectly. That doesn't mean you're full. We want full hearts. And so we want to be able to say, what is that lack that you were missing from your mom specifically in those moments? I won't get super into it, but I'll just tell you those 10 emotional needs. Tell me maybe the top 3 that stand out to you.
That I wasn't getting from my mom. Is that
So I'm going to say the 10, and then I
Okay.
want you to pick your top 3.
Sure.
So was your mommy able to see you? Was your mommy able to hear you? Was your mommy able to accept you? Was your mommy able to play with you? Was your mommy able to teach you? Was your mommy able to protect you? Was your mommy able to provide for you? Was your mommy able to show you how valuable you are? Was your mommy able to show you that you were enough? Was your mommy able to give you affection? What one stood out to you?
probably hear, teach, and value?
Yeah. So I recently came out with a children's book based on those.
Wow.
So I'm going to open it up to the I hear you.
Mm.
I want you to be able to see. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
So this is I hear you.
Hmm.
This is what it was meant to feel like, look like when a mommy and or a daddy is hearing you. And that's what we want for your heart. And your mom's inability to hear you in that way, give you that emotional need, has kept you from being able to do it for yourself and then be able to do it for your husband and your daughter as well. So we want to give you the gift of being heard. One of the biggest things with control is we don't feel heard. And one thing that a lot of people think, they think, I just need to get my voice. If I get my voice, I'm not going to be controlled. But your voice comes from being heard. It was the chicken or the egg. It's heard first, voice second. So if you didn't feel like you had a voice with your mom because she was controlling, it's more importantly, it's because she didn't hear you that you don't have a voice. And so we want to be able to give you that gift of being heard. So I want you to look through your whole entire life, and I want you to pick a person that's heard you. Real person, real moment. Could be a best friend, could be anyone. Once you have that moment, do you have a memory of being heard?
Oh yeah.
I want you to take that moment and bring it back to being little. When your mommy didn't know how to hear you. I want you to give her that person, that experience, that being heard, just like that illustration. Let your little self feel heard. She loves that. That's why being controlled hurts so much. She was hearing you. She likes being heard. She's really cute. Your younger self is really cute. I can see her just like basking in it. Like being heard is like sunshine.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like if I was heard, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Isn't that crazy? You know,
Yeah,
wouldn't have made that decision.
exactly. But now you're heard. And if you're heard, even those decisions, even your story, how it played out, will be comforted because you're heard now.
Right.
Now you can hear your daughter. I know it almost feels like we went like a different route than dealing with the control.
Yeah.
But it's actually the most effective way.
Right.
Because when you're heard, that control doesn't have power anymore. Because we can fight against a controlling mom all day long till we're blue in the face and still feel like we never got what we needed. I'm not negating her behavior. I'm not saying that it was okay. And I'm sorry that you were controlled. But if we give her all the attention, give her control all the attention,
Right.
you're never going to get what you need.
And it's almost sometimes I'm still trying to justify myself back then to my mom even now.
I know. We keep doing it. We keep getting little with our mommies and daddies.
Yeah.
But in order to grow up, we have to get our emotional needs, and then we can grow up and you can be the woman you are today.
Area that I don't feel that I was heard, is that what I need to do is like think of someone like what you told the first woman. Imagine.
I recommend finding like 3 to 5 women that you felt heard by. And every time you don't feel heard, put it on the notes in your phone or put it on your fridge. And every time you don't feel heard, bring one in. Bring one in until it's satisfied.
Okay.
Good job. It's really hard when we have a pain spot like that to go through this back door because you're like, no, it's over there. It's over there. And so it's really brave of you to be able to get that need met instead of putting all your attention on the problem.
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Really great to talk with you, Katie.
Can you put your book in the
Oh,
thing?
Yeah, I will.
Oh,
This is
okay.
just so cute.
I love it. You
Yeah.
are you're
Yeah.
gonna-
It's precious. And I thought it's a toddler book, so I thought it was for adult and toddlers. It's for adults.
Great.
Yeah, it's a really great book. Okay, so let me pull up the next question. Let's see, Brandy Uchi. I'm sorry, I'm probably gonna ruin your guys' names, and then you guys are gonna be triggered, and we're gonna have to walk through it, but that's okay. We know how to do it. So Brandy Uchi, I hope I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah.
Having a hard time seeing God in your past painful circumstances or in sin.
Yeah. I'm a little emotional after
Yeah.
your talk with but I think for me and I'm in the week 2, so I know it was exercising to talk and ask God like where he was or how he felt in those moments where you felt pain and trauma. And it was really hard for me because like when 2 of my major pains or traumas is just growing up in a home where my brother was very violent. And so there's a lot of fear. And so like seeing God, like where was he, and trying to think of, I don't know, it was hard. It's hard for me to imagine where he was.
Yeah.
And the second one was I got a divorce, and that's more recent, and got a lot of shame with that. But I think I did things that were wrong in the marriage as well as he did. But I think like the sins in general, when it's something that we've done, it's hard to see God there because it feels more shameful, more shameful because, you know, God sees you and you know that. But like when you go back to those sins, when it was your choice of doing something that was wrong and trying to come back of, I don't know. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm stuck, because I know for me, there's a lot of shame, but then there's a lot of pain with my family, trying to deal with my family upbringing, and then the shame of my divorce and everything that went on with that. So
yeah, it's a lot of pain and a lot of shame. Yeah. So when we see ourselves, kind of going back to what I said before about shame, when we see ourselves as bad, not just we made bad choices, you would not feel this level of shame and pain if you just saw it as bad choices. But you don't see it as bad choices. You see it as something that is wrong with you that you did. And we want to be able to go back and say, in your early childhood development, if you had a brother that was violent, and it sounds like you probably, if he was habitually violent like that, you probably didn't have parents that knew how to protect you in it. And so you didn't have protection, so you got hurt. Hurt people. So of course you hurt your husband in your divorce or before in your marriage. Of course you did. Maybe not the same way as he did to you, maybe not the same way as your brother did to you, but of course you hurt him. Not because you're evil, not because you're bad, but because you didn't have the protection that you needed to feel safe and secure to treat people the way that God created you to treat people. When a child makes a mistake, a person makes a mistake, we know there's more to the story. So you stop the story at, I'm bad, God can't be with me. And we want to re-look at it, reframe it to, I'm hurt. I'm not protected. Where was God? And the reason why you asked where God was is because really, where was mommy and daddy? Mommy and daddy's protection is a tangible representation of God's protection. And when mommies and daddies don't know how to protect us, we lack the gift of protection. Remember how when I was sharing with Katie, that was one of them. Did your mommy and daddy protect you? I'll show you the illustration of that. Did your mommy and daddy protect you? Did you feel that love when you were hurt, when your brother was violent? You didn't have protection. So any of your behaviors, I'm not saying that sin is okay, and I'm not saying bad behavior is okay, but I'm saying that bad behavior and sin comes from disconnection, lack of our emotional needs being met. If you don't have protection, you're going to make bad choices, because when I don't feel safe, I'm frantic. I make choices from a reactionary place because I don't have what I need. So I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to sin, and I'm going to have bad behavior because this pain is driving me. If I took care of this pain, came back to who I was created to be, I would never make those mistakes because it's contrary to who I was created to be. With the Colossians 1:20 that I said before, you've already been restored. But because you didn't have the gift of protection, it's hard for you to see God protecting you. But just like with Katie, if a mommy and daddy comes in and protects you, you're going to see God protecting you because he was there and he was protecting you. But you didn't have eyes to see it, and you didn't have a heart to receive it because your mommy and daddy weren't representing God well in protection. And I think you needed protection in your marriage too. I know you said you made mistakes, but I think you needed protection there too. And I think a lot
And I
of your
think,
mistakes came because you didn't feel safe. Go ahead.
no, I think when you were talking and saying the top 10 things, and it hit me because I think in both with my parents and my ex-husband, it's the hearing part and the
Yeah.
part, because
Yeah.
I didn't feel that, and like I was really hurt by him, and then it caused me to not know what to do anymore because I felt alone. I felt,
Yeah.
and so it makes sense. It's just, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So if you felt those feelings of being heard and being protected, imagine what would it felt like when your brother was violent? What would it felt like when your husband wasn't appropriate with you? What would that feel like?
Not as I don't know. I guess I feel very weak and scared. So so I think more strong. Like I wouldn't be as weak.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that's it, but because I'm always nervous and always anxious.
Yeah. That's
I
because
just
you're baby girl. Yeah. Baby girl's nervous. What does she need?
What is this?
I don't know. I think just to feel like you said, heard and protected.
Yeah. Yeah. She won't be nervous anymore when she has that. And then you will also feel close to God. Our emotional neglect and lack causes us not to feel close to God. Our parents not representing God well causes us to feel not close to God. So applying that the same way that Katie did, applying that to your heart, it's going to help you feel stronger. It's going to help you be able to see yourself more clearly. Because when we feel nervous, when we feel weak, we can't see ourselves very clearly. Do you feel connected to it since you were processing it before?
Yeah, I mean, I was writing down like what you were saying, like 3 to 5
Yeah.
that help, hear, protect, and so
Yeah.
it was good. It's really good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You did great. I know it's vulnerable. And keep going through this course because it's going to keep building on it. You're going to get stronger and stronger because you're going to be getting your needs met and your pain taken care of.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Mindy Johnson, having a hard time communicating in a relationship, believing that you're filtering 90% of what you say and doesn't end up saying what you actually need. Communicating feels high stakes but you're tired of being a hermit and only having surface level relationships.
That's me.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Mindy. Yeah. So, I mean, very common. I bet you're already kind of connecting some of the dots with what I've said before.
Yeah.
So I won't repeat all the same things that I said, but tell me a little bit about how that affected you, or even maybe some of the things that you're feeling right now, even hearing some of the things that I do know apply to the same question.
Yeah. I definitely feel the not being heard.
Mhm.
And I feel like the not being enough was
Yeah.
really big for me. So
Yeah.
yeah, my mom as a kid, she would whenever I had any feelings or emotions, she would always kind of bring it back to her. She was very volatile emotionally, and she would always bring it back to, well, you must not think I'm a good enough mother, and that's why you feel that way. And she would threaten suicide. So everything was super high stakes. Like I couldn't have
Yeah.
my own emotions about anything because it was always somehow she would bring it back to her. She would think it's
Yeah.
her fault and then threaten literally life and death. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's very high stakes, especially to a child.
Yeah.
0 to 12 years old, your brain's not developed enough to understand what's happening in those situations. So not only is she threatening life or death, but you're going to interpret it as life and death, regardless if it's a threat or not a threat.
Yeah.
Because your brain's not developed to know the difference. It all feels real. And so when we get triggered, there's 4 different responses we have. Most people know fight,
Yeah.
flight,
Yeah.
freeze,
Uh-huh.
and the last one's fawn. Fawn is a newer one that came out, I think it's like 2016, 2014. A gentleman coined that based on when we're in a triggered state, when we're with a volatile parent, like how you described, we don't we don't fight because we know that's not going to work. We don't flight because we're not allowed to. We don't freeze because we're also not allowed to freeze. We fawn. Fawn is, it's going to be okay, mommy. I'm going to make you happy. Don't say that.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because of the volatile situation, you're going to fawn to try to get her to be okay so she doesn't hurt herself, and fawn so that she's okay with you, and fawn so that she doesn't turn from you. Because even though that sounds like a terrible connection, that's your mommy.
Right.
And in early childhood development, we need connection like we need food and water. So you're going to do whatever it takes to keep that connection. And so you're fawning. So whenever we fawn, we can't be true to ourselves in communicating to others and true to ourselves in relationship to others, because we're so busy trying to preserve them that we've lost ourselves. And so we have to go back and reparent the neglect, that fawning. Yes, it was your mom because she's your caregiver causing you to feel that, but the fawning also, that's your reaction to her inappropriate behavior. Your fawning was the reaction to it. And just like if you were punching, you'd have internal ramifications from being a fighter in those situations. You have internal ramifications from being a fawner in that situation as well. So we don't want to shame, of course. We don't want to say you were in survival, you did the best you could. Fawning was the only thing that would keep it somewhat okay. So we're so proud of you for fawning. We're so proud of you that you did the best you can. But we also want to help you find a different way.
Yeah.
Because that fawning is not just hurting you then, it's hurting you now. Because you're still doing it. Whenever you perceive a threat, you're always going to fawn, which means you have to divorce yourself and separate from yourself to fawn for the other person and not have an opinion and not show up and not be able to communicate. You have to filter to make everyone okay. And we want to start saying, baby girl, we want more for you. We want to hear you. We want you to know that you're enough just the way you are. You don't have to do anything. We don't need you. Your mom thought she needed you to be okay. That created a codependency from her to you, but also from you to her. Mommy doesn't need you. Mommy's okay. You need a mommy.
Yeah.
As your mom was busy saying those things to you, like I was talking about with Katie, she wasn't busy holding you. You needed to be held. You needed to be cared for. You needed to be heard. You needed to know that you were enough.
So would I go back like you were describing with the other?
Yeah. You go back and do that to get your needs met. And then what I would like for you is when you feel that knee-jerk reaction to fawn, and sometimes you're going to have to catch it hindsight because it's a knee-jerk reaction. So you're already fawning for days and then you're like, oh, wait, I'm fawning. So it's okay. That's completely fine. That's what triggers are. Triggers happen almost without us until we start to learn how to navigate them. So you just realize you fawned.
Yeah.
We're going to come here. We're going to pause, whatever the circumstance or situation is. And we're going to come here and say, baby girl, what hurt that caused you to fawn? And we're going to start tending to the wound that causes you to fawn. We're not going to tell you to stop fawning. We're going to take care of the pain that causes that reaction. So every time you catch yourself fawning, are you sad? Are you scared? Are you lonely? And it probably is going to be scared because that sounds like a really scary. I feel scared for you when you talk about it. So you were probably scared. So we're going to start bringing comfort to that scared every time. Right here with you, baby girl. Right here with your scared. We're going to be with you the way that your mommy didn't know how to be with you. And if bigger the trigger, bigger the fawn, the younger you are. If you're young, you always need an adult. You're either going to be the adult to yourself, but we can only do that if we're not super triggered.
Yeah.
Or we're going to bring other adults to be with us in the pain that caused us to fawn.
Okay.
So please do not stop fawning. Don't do it. Take care of the pain and you'll stop.
Because I was so isolated in that relationship, in it growing up, it was very difficult for me to really have that mother figure like with anyone else, because she would recognize it and put an end to it very quickly, out of her own insecurities. So I struggle having someone else like that comes to mind.
So look through your whole entire life. Don't just look during those years. Those years probably were very isolated. But look through your whole entire life, all the way up to present day. Because God knew that in your mom's pain, that's how she was going to raise you. And he knew you weren't going to get what you needed. So he strategically placed mommy's love sources in your life throughout your whole entire life. They're everywhere. We just don't have eyes to see them because in our early childhood development, when we're in isolation, we don't know how to recognize it because all we know is our mommy. If I held up a picture of a mommy, your mom, you'd be like, mommy. If I held up a picture, let's just say you had a teacher in elementary school that was very nurturing to you and that you felt safe with and heard with and you felt like you were enough. If I hold up her picture, you say teacher. So you're not going to receive her in the same way as a mommy because your brain says teacher, not mommy. So you're going to have to find these moms in unusual packages and unusual places that maybe you didn't expect them to come from. But I promise you they're there. If not then, you've experienced them in your adult life. But great question and great clarification, because I wouldn't want you to say, okay, she told me what to do, but there is no one. I promise you they're there. They're just hard to find because we don't know how to see them. This is the fun thing. Once you start to see them, you start seeing them so much more often. You see them in so many different ways. It just takes that first time of being able to see where that person's coming, who that person is, to be able to connect with them. And then all of a sudden you start seeing, oh, God provided that person. He provided that person. He provided that person.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So next question is from Emma Sutherland. Feels she has a distorted view of forgiveness, is wondering how to do boundaries well, and is curious what forgiveness should and should not look like. Great question. Emma, are you
Yeah.
on? Perfect. Wait, I'm not seeing you. I don't know why I'm not seeing you.
Is it unmuted?
Where are you?
Emma, if you just start talking, it'll highlight your
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Is that
Oh, there you
working?
go. Yep, perfect. Thank you, Emma. Sorry, I couldn't see you, and I'm fine if it's just audio, but if you are on there, I want to be able to see you. So there you are. Hi, Emma. So tell me a little bit about why you asked that question.
I think as I have worked through a lot of, I think when I think about a lot of past pain and also pain that that is actively happening right now, I guess I think if I'm giving meat and potatoes, probably the best example of that is my relationship with my dad has always been tangled in a lot of ways. And he was very distant and uninvolved my whole childhood, and then left when I was 12, and we didn't have any contact for many years. And then for the last few years, we have had contact off and on. But he is an alcoholic, and for the last year has been in and out of the hospital because ultimately he is what the point that his body is at, he is killing himself.
Mm-hmm.
And the last stint with that was it's been about a month now, and he was in the hospital for about a month, and there was a lot of hope that maybe he was finally gonna get treatment, and he was finally gonna get help. And then that didn't happen, and he refused again, and he has kind of gone back to normal life and pretending like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have such a hard time figuring out how do I, because this big part of me feels so sorry for him and so sorry for the choices that how isolated he is and how alone he is. And then this other part of me feels so angry and so hurt that he keeps choosing these other things over and over.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think when I think about forgiveness, I never know, especially in our relationship, I feel this responsibility to forgive, but then over and over, I feel like I just don't even know what does forgiveness mean? What do I mean when I say that?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do I practice that in a way that also holds some sense of boundary and some sense of no, you're still, nothing has changed. You're still choosing the same things over and over that you always have. You still are never choosing me. How do I forgive something that's still actively happening? It's not in the past even.
Yeah, exactly. It's in the past and it's happening now too. So it's very difficult to forgive. So let me share a little bit about my take on forgiveness to start, and then I'll make it more personable towards you. Is that okay?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So when I meet with people, it's very common. I am a Christian, and I 100% bring God into my consulting and everything that I do. And it's very common for Christians to make forgiveness this big thing, you've got to forgive. And so a lot of inner healing modules for Christians is based on forgiveness. And so it seems like that's what we would do in order to get healed and healthy. But in how I do forgiveness, I never, ever ask anyone to forgive, ever. The only reason that you'd have unforgiveness and not be able to forgive is because you have pain that hasn't been taken care of. So it would actually be harsh for me to demand for you to forgive when you have pain that hasn't been taken care of. And that's why a lot of people forgive over and over and over again, because they're not actually taking care of the pain that causes us to. Unforgiveness is like holding on. And we look at it and we go, Jesus died for you, you better let go. So we pry forgiveness out of people, not recognizing that the reason why they're holding on so tightly is there's pain and unmet need here that they're holding on to. If we took care of the pain, you would naturally let go. And so the reason why it's hard for you to let go because of the past and because of the present is because you have unresolved pain. And that unresolved pain keeps you doing this. Even when you try to do it because you love him and you care about him, then you do this again. Then you do this, then you do this again. And so we want to say, you don't have to forgive him. We want to make sure that you feel safe and secure. Kind of like with Mindy when I said, don't stop fawning. That's a protector. That's kept her safe for a lot of her life. You being able to recognize what's wrong with his alcoholism and wrong with what he's doing has kept you safe for a long time. It's almost like, to a certain degree, whatever amount of unforgiveness you have towards your dad, that's kept you tough. That's kept you strong. And then I say, just forgive. That's like saying, like, just open up the door to the alcoholism and just let it come on in. Because we're supposed to forgive and we're supposed to just lay down and take it. And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's probably how it feels a little bit, that your heart actually becomes very vulnerable when you forgive like that, because you've probably tried and practiced trying to do it, but it just hurts you again. And it just creates more vulnerability, because the pain is not about your dad's alcoholism. The pain is about what your daddy wasn't able to give you and how his actions hurt you. And it came through the vehicle of alcoholism, but it's actually the pain that you experience and the unmet need that you experience that's causing you to hold on so tightly. So we want to be able to say, it's nothing to do with that. Even though that was the vehicle it came in, it's nothing to do with that. Emma, what do you need? How does your pain need to be comforted? How do your needs need to be met? And as we fill you up, and your pain is comforted and your needs are met, and you get more and more and more full, when you look back at your dad and his bad behavior, and even very gingerly, even how he's potentially killing himself based on his behavior, it's still going to be sad. It's still going to be hard, but you're not going to take so much responsibility for it anymore. You're not going to take it so personal, even though it's your dad and it hurts. But you've taken a lot of responsibility, even if it's been internally, and you've tried to help him so much that you haven't been able to take care of yourself, which means you haven't been able to fully forgive. So we really need it to make it all about Emma right now. Because your affections and your attention has gone to him and his alcoholism. We want to take your attention, your affections back and put it here and take really good care of you. Not because we're trying to teach you to be selfish, but because we want you to be really well taken care of, because that's actually the best way you're going to love your dad through this. Is not through trying to change him and not through trying to get him to stop, but through you being so full, you can love him unconditionally. And then you'll forgive. And it will be a natural byproduct. It'll be an overflow from fullness. We forgive because we were forgiven. And so when we forgive, it's an overflow of the fullness of love, the fullness of forgiveness overflows into us being able to let go and forgive.
I think everything you're saying is so, it makes so much sense to me, and it sits so well. And I think there's part of me that has always been aware of that, like, I can only love from, like, I will love well when I am full and I can pour out, and loving him unconditionally comes from forgiveness. But then it's that piece in the middle that I think seems like it's kind of the most vital piece of figuring out, like, how to be allowing anyone or even myself to like turning that hose back on myself or
Yeah.
someone else do
Yeah.
that. But even when I hear that said out loud, even hearing you say that, everything in me, it's like this physical tense feeling of like, I don't know how to do that. I can't do that.
I know, because you didn't have a daddy. You didn't have a daddy helping you in your early childhood development. So that feeling you feel, that tenseness, that's your little self. It's too big. It's too much what I'm asking of you. That's why you need a daddy to come help you, because you're trying to overcome a daddy's pain without a daddy.
Yeah.
And when a daddy comes and he's with you, you can overcome the pain of your daddy. So that baby girl needs to, because it didn't just start now. It's been happening for a long time. Even if the circumstances aren't exactly the same. It's the same way of him not being able to be a daddy for you, and you had to be too big too soon. 0 to 12 years old, you should never give to a caregiver ever. Because you're just a child. That's why we have caregivers to take care of us, because we can't take care of adults. But from a young age, you had to take care of your daddy. And as you were busy taking care of your daddy, a daddy wasn't holding you. You don't have to take care of your daddy, baby girl. Daddy's going to take care of you.
I think similar to, I think several people have kind of said this a little bit, when I try to think back on, I think I've been aware of that need of like, I need to be able to allow other people to pour into me. I need to allow other people to mother and father me. My relationship with my mom is very different from with my dad, very loving, but also I was a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been aware of that need, but I feel like every time I try to like, and I think I've even gone through seasons of feeling really desperate to like find someone who can.
Yeah.
And it never works out the way that I have it in my mind, you know? And so I don't know, I think hearing what you were saying before about like, they're always there. We just maybe aren't able to see them. And I'm not sure what are the best ways to kind of begin to open my eyes to that.
Yeah. So go back to your childhood. You weren't born like that. You weren't born a caregiver. You were born dependent.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the way, you gave up your childhood to become a caregiver. And it feels like, I can usually kind of discern people, but it feels like it was pretty young. And so we want to go back though, because there was a time that you were not a caregiver. We want to go back to that space of time. Let's say at 3 years old, you were a little girl. You hadn't become a caregiver yet. You might have been seeing the signs of it, but you hadn't actually stepped into the position of being a caregiver for your parents. So at 3 years old, you're vulnerable. That's where you're going to know you need a mommy and a daddy. So position yourself as a 3-year-old looking through your life for a caregiver, because she's going to be so much more inclined to receive, because she hasn't hardened her heart to become a caregiver yet. So let your 3-year-old find your people, because she's a better gauge than you are. And I say that very kindly, because I'm sorry that you had to become that. You should never have become that. But your 3-year-old's smarter than you right now. Sounds like a funny thing to say, but it's true. She knows. She's very smart, and she knows how to find the caregiver. So say 3-year-old, before you got hardened, look at a picture of her, be like, who in our life can come be with us? She's going to be like, okay, there's this person and there's this person, there's this person. And she's going to bring in this whole group, and it's going to be a party. She knows. Yeah, I can like discern her. Like she knows. She's like, I know how this works. You're just like, no, 3-year-old, we have to be the caregiver. Let her take the lead. Let her have the reins. Let her choose for you. She'll choose wisely.
Yeah.
Do you feel that? I might not have got the age right. I don't know what the age is, but there's
No, I think
somewhere
that's-
around there. Yeah, because you were very young. So I was guessing on the age, but somewhere around there, she's the one that's going to help you find those caregivers.
It feels like so peaceful to me to have just a starting place, just a like,
I
okay,
know. I'm so excited for you. I'm sorry for your pain. I don't want to override the pain. We're still in pain, but I just can feel and discern like you are going to be able to do this really well. Like, I feel like you instinctively already know, you just didn't know how to do it, but you know how to do it. Once we put you to that, like in the right direction, you're going to like soar.
it feels really hopeful. Thank you.
Yep. And a little bit like how Deborah, when I told her you're a professional at this, because she literally is a professional, you're a professional caregiver. And so you know exactly how to find caregivers.
Yeah.
You're really good at it. You're just going to do it for yourself now instead of your mom and dad.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let me see. I don't know how much time we have, about 10 minutes. Should I do one more, Bree, or what do you think?
Yeah, and you could even ask the person if 10 minutes felt like an okay.
Perfect. Yeah, I just don't want to cut somebody off if they
Right.
feel like it's a bigger thing.
Totally, yeah.
So Ashley Baird, I hope I'm saying it right. When how to practice self-compassion. Hi,
I'm
Ashley.
here.
Yay, you're
Hi.
there.
Yeah, I've been listening.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool because your question kind of probably has been answered in some ways, but I can center in for you for the last 10 minutes and focus it directly on you. Do you feel like that will
Sure.
be okay for you?
That would be fine. Yeah, I've already gotten a lot out of this call, so it's been really good.
Okay. I read your question and it made me feel better because I feel like there's probably some pieces that have already connected, but I'm going to talk a little bit about self-compassion because that's what you specifically asked on. Or is there something else that you had a question about? Feel free to ask if there's a different question you have.
Yeah. I do struggle a lot with self-compassion, and I had a hard time figuring out how to word it in my question because I'm still kind of confused by this, but I feel like I have a lot of pain from my mom, and I've known that for probably about 6 months when I kind of started this journey. Like before that, I couldn't even see it. I was completely blind to it, and I got out some journals and started reading about a traumatic incident that happened when I was 19. And I thought that was the source of my problems. And I started looking through my journals and going, oh, no, this was it goes way back, way before that happened. And just like you were saying to someone else in the call, and then the effects of that incident were compounded by what was already there. And now I am, I have an eating disorder, and I also struggle with cutting, self-harming, and I'm kind of in recovery from those. I'm getting treatment, and so I'm just going through a lot right now. It's been really, I'm just pretty drained emotionally, and I haven't been doing like encounters and emotional work with memories and stuff because it's just too triggering, and then I just spiral with my like eating behaviors and stuff for the last like few months. But I'm finding that the mom pain is coming back, even though I haven't been like actively digging for it. It's just like in my face all the time, and I can't ignore it. And so the self-compassion thing is like, I feel the need for self-compassion, but the mom pain is making it very difficult to have self-compassion. And then then I feel my anger flaring up toward her. And then I feel angry at myself for being angry, because in my home when I was growing up, it wasn't safe to be angry. Like if I was angry, then I got scared because of what punishment I might get for being angry. And I'm afraid to acknowledge my anger, and I'm afraid to acknowledge the hurt, because like I just realized I need to do some forgiveness. But if I forgive, I can't forgive what I didn't feel, what I don't allow myself to feel. And so it's like I could just say the words, but they mean nothing if I don't but I'm afraid of going there because I'm trying to recover. And I have to find a way to kind of take it safely, but just
yeah, that
so
makes
whenever
sense.
I try to practice self-compassion, this anger towards my mom comes up. And it's also hard because she's really supportive of my recovery. She sends me emails every day, and I feel so guilty, and I feel like, oh, I can't be angry at her because she's loving me right now. And I don't know, it's really confusing. I haven't really figured it out, but I have this extreme resistance to trying to show myself any kind of compassion.
Yeah.
Because it feels really scary.
So what's
I feel
happening
like I'm
is
going to get, and my mom doesn't believe, like she says that self-love isn't biblical. Like we already love ourselves too much and we need to learn to love other people. And so I feel like I'm going to get in trouble if I try to practice self-compassion.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That would be scary to practice.
So that's kind of what I'm struggling with. Just it's kind of confusing.
Yeah. So I'm going to make it real simple for you. You've already heard everything I've talked about. So you have, there's more to the story, and you've already heard a lot of what I'd say. So I'm not going to say anything else. I'm going to keep it really simple for you. And I'm not doing it simple just because of time. I'm doing it simple because of how you express what you're going through. I don't want to re-traumatize you. I don't want to have you go through something that's going to be more hurtful than beneficial for you, like you talked about. So we're going to keep it real simple. When you feel the anger come up, when you feel the bigness of the eating disorders, the bigness of the cutting, the bigness of all the things that you're feeling, it probably feels like this big swirly cloud. And so then you're like, okay, I don't want to look at it. I'm just going to like stay right here. I'm just going to stay right here. What we're going to do is when you feel the swirl, we're not going to go in and fix it. All we're going to do is when you feel the swirl, we're going to bring it down to sad, scared, or lonely. That's it. We're not going to go back and find out where it came from. We're not going to go back and even bring moms and dads in like I talked about. Eventually you can, but not right now. We're not going to bring moms and dads in. We're not going to relive our childhood. All we're going to do is feel our sad, or feel our scared, or feel our lonely. And then all you're going to do is take that sad or scared or lonely and just put it on your heart. Just say, I see you're sad. I see you're scared. I see you're lonely. And you're just going to be very, just bring it down really simply. Because you're getting in your triggered state, you're getting very distracted by all these things, and it's causing you to feel anxious, and it's causing you to feel there's big problems, and I need to recover, and it feels really big and overwhelming. We just want to make it really simple. Because it feels like a monster because it feels so big, but it's just little impressions. And if there was a child in your life that was really sad, what would you do?
I do it all the time with, I have 4 kids.
Yeah. So what do you do with them when they feel sad?
Hold them. Yeah. I hold them until they stop crying.
Yep. That's all we're going to do with you. And you can literally put your hands on your arms like this sometimes and just be like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Just be with your sad. It's okay. That's all I want you to do. And it sounds like it's not enough for the big cloud, but it's enough for your kids, which means it's enough for you.
Right. That makes a lot of sense because I'm almost done with my Alive and Free membership, and I'm trying to figure out whether to get Thrive or not. But I feel like I haven't been doing encounters. I haven't been doing coaching calls very much. And I just feel like not because I don't have the time, even though I have limited time, but it's just because it's overwhelming, and I can't make it happen. I just can't.
That's
and
okay.
So if doing it in that really simple way, it sounds like almost like the way you just talked to like my 1-year-old. She's 18 months.
Yeah,
and like
that's
that's
all
how
I
old-
want you to do.
And I feel like that's probably the level of, like, that's probably the age that I'm going back to in the reactions that I'm having, because, and it's hard because I can't remember a lot from that time, except for one traumatic thing that happened that I do remember.
Yeah. It's okay if you don't remember everything. You know from having a baby girl that no matter what happened, she's just sad. She's just scared. She's lonely. She just needs comfort. So that's what I want you to picture. Every time you feel the big cloud, connect with your 1-year-old, your real 1-year-old, so you can connect with your 1-year-old. And all we're going to do is hold her. We're just going to
that
hold
really
her.
helps make things sound a little more doable.
Yep. Yep. And it sounds like when I say all, it almost sounds like, well, that's just like a little thing I'm going to give you to do. I promise you, that's going to be in a lot of ways more powerful than a lot of the things you're doing for recovery. I'm not undermining them or disrespecting whatever your process is, but it is actually even though it's very, very simple, it is way more powerful than we realize.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I used to do that. I used to just say Jesus and like just imagine him there with me. But then when I started Alive and Free, I started learning all these things. I started going, oh, well, I have to do this, this, and this. And then I'm doing my treatment and I have all these different DBT skills. And it's just really overwhelming.
Yeah.
All these different skills.
Yeah,
and
exactly. So
I could take it back to that simple, like that worked a lot better, at least at the point,
Yeah, no, exactly. And as you get confident and secure and full with the simplicity, you can start building again. But sometimes we have to bring it all the way back down, not because the tools aren't good, not because they're not going to bring healing, not because they're not, great for us, but sometimes we just can't handle all of that. So we have to get really simple. And then when we are very secure and simple, we can add to it.
Right.
So you're not going to not use what you've learned, but you're going to clear the table and just come back to simplicity, and then you can rebuild again.
Right. Thank you. That's really helpful.
You're very welcome. Yeah, that was perfect because you didn't need to hear a ton. You were the perfect 10-minute person because it's exactly what you needed to hear.
Yeah. I love the way you talk too. You have this presence about you that is so incredibly comforting. I watched one of your recorded coaching calls a while ago, but thank you so much for sharing your time.
Thank you for sharing that too. I appreciate that. Yeah. And thank you for everyone that shared. I know it's vulnerable to share, even though you asked the questions. Even though you asked the questions and you volunteered, I know it's still vulnerable to share. And so I really thank you all for sharing. I feel honored to hear your stories.
Oh, Laura, thank you so much. This was full of treasures. And guys, if you just want to, you're already given her your love in the comments.
Thank you.
I she'll want to check that out.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate the kindness. I really love what I do, but I also really like hearing that what people say. So I need it too.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, Bree, for being such a great mediator. And thank you, everyone. I'll let you guys get to your small groups or whatever they're called.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. And guys, I'm just going to repost in the chat the 10 needs and the link to Laura's book just one more time. I'll put it in the Facebook group as well if you're interested. But yeah, we're going to do breakout rooms next. So if you want to stay and hang out and connect some more, feel free to do that. I'll give a little announcement at like 10 minutes before the hour is up. So I'm going to put you into rooms. I hope you guys have a wonderful time connecting. And here we go.